How would you answer this question? What is your idea of a dream date?
Oh, well, I'd get myself all dolled up, catch an early funeral, and stop by the video store and pick up Friday the 13th.
We've already seen Friday the 13th.
I know. I'd play it for Eddie while you and I go upstairs.
Well, come along, big fellow. Your dream date is about to come true.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special podcast. This is the podcast where we watch your old favorite TV shows of yesteryear, and then discuss them.
Yeah, I think that's what we did. You sound a little confused on that.
I'm not confused, only because we kind of skew the premise. Because sometimes it's not a TV show, sometimes it's a movie, sometimes it's a music video. But tonight, it's totally a TV show. We're going back to sitcoms. And we discuss it over a glass of wine. Or a holiday beverage.
Yes.
In my world, I am drinking a glass of wine because I am sophisticated. But in the real world, it is St. Patrick's Day, and you were drinking some kind of like Blarney Stonish beverage?
Yeah, Irish cream over chocolate custard.
Ooh, ooh. So anyway, just in case this is your first time listening to the podcast, we basically, we go onto Netflix, we go onto Hulu, or any of those streaming outlets, and anything that we watch could change at any moment in time. So, luckily, we found a trusty friend called CanIStreamIt.com or .net. What is it? It's a dot what?
CanIStream.com.
It's a .com. It's also an app that you can get on an iPhone. I don't know how you use this stuff.
It's probably on Android.
So
I can find out.
So basically, you just load this app up on the website. And let's just say we're watching the Munsters Today, for example, what we're watching today. You just plug it in, and it tells you where it can be streamed. And you can watch it on... doesn't it do Amazon, too?
Yeah.
So,
well, I think it has, a lot of streaming services.
Like, the non-regular ones?
Maybe some we might not generally think of.
Yeah,
you can get it for Android.
Yeah, there's some... Because
I'm installing it right now.
Yeah, because you were talking about how you went to CanIStream.com, and I was like, I totally use that app. Because anytime that I think of something that I want to watch, I just plug that up, and I was like, oh, let's see where Magnum PI is. Because it's a good tool for the podcast, only because you could, randomly discover this, 4 years from now. And you're like, holy shit, I want to watch this episode of Munsters Today. And it's like, well, where is it? So you just go to CanIStreamIt.com or fire up the app on any of your mobile devices, if those are still around in 4 years. Who knows what we'll have.
God, I hope so.
Do you ever watch Parks and Recreations?
No, I don't.
So the final season of Parks and Recreations takes place in 2017, 2 years in the future. And all the cell phones are holograms, basically. And it's just hilarious because...
Oh, it's like that episode of How I Met Your Mother where Ted hologram calls Marshall.
What year was it
Hong Kong.
In that episode?
Oh, God, I don't remember. It was a few years from now, maybe...
2019?
26. Not that far, actually. I gotta look it up.
I was just watching Lost in Space on Hulu the other day. The episode, the very first episode... when they're like going into space. It takes place October like 16th, 1997, and they have like the 1960s technology of what they imagine the future would be like. So it's just those gigantic computers with like flash bulbs on them that like blink every few seconds. It's like they didn't realize that we were using like Windows 98 by that point in time.
And that a computer would be a lot smaller.
A lot smaller. But
yeah.
I love old futures. Always a pleasure. So anyway, if you're just... Actually, we didn't even introduce ourselves. Sorry.
We didn't. You just, like, went off on this whole thing.
This fake future tangent.
Like, there's one part I was like, should we introduce ourselves? Once he stopped talking.
Sorry. Like, I feel like we haven't had an episode of the podcast where we have, like, kind of like a shitty, goofy open. Because we kind of just, like, roll right into it. So anyway, if you haven't listened to the first, like, 18 or 19-ish episodes... I'm Patrick.
It should be 19.
This is going to be 19?
This should be our 20th.
All right, so we're still in our teens at this point. We're still pretty bitchy, just got out of grade school. Anyway, I'm Patrick M. Dunn. You might remember me from the previous 18 episodes, apparently. You can find me on Twitter. I'm simply Patrick M. Dunn with the @ symbol in front. And I tweet many of my daily observations and do retweets of inappropriate things. And as always...
Yes, there are times I wonder what's wrong with you when I read your tweets, and I'm like, oh, Patrick.
I just DJF on Twitter, because it's fun. So, I'm joined here by Kat Halstead. She is an accomplished author. She is like the Judy Blume of the modern era. I believe Time Magazine described you that way?
You're going to have to find me a link to that. I don't think I read that.
Or was it Rolling Stone?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that comparison. You'll have to hook me up with that.
You don't like that comparison?
I wasn't aware of it.
All right. Who would you compare yourself to?
Jackie Collins, Judith Grant.
I don't even know who they are.
You can follow me on Twitter at CatDVS. Cat is with a K.
And she has, she has a website with all your books.
Yes. CatHalstead.com.
That's your springboard to everything. You can buy all her Jackie Collins-esque books there. They're not Judy Blume-like at all. Okay. No. This is what we learned tonight.
They're like adult Judy Blume-like, but not like child Judy Blume-like.
Didn't like later in life, didn't Judy Blume like venture out into some risque topics?
Well, her books were always kind of risque.
Was she
they were risque for kids, but then she's written more grown-up fiction for last few books. So.
All right. So if you want to read a risque book, you definitely have to read CatHalstead.com. You can buy them all there. Linkway. Anyway, we also have a website. Well, it's more like a Tumblr, because I feel like it's like a sham calling it a website, because it's just really a Tumblr. But
it's just a Tumblr.
Someday we'll graduate to an actual website, but we're still working out the kinks. But right now, you can go to averyspecialpodcast.tumblr. There's no E in Tumblr. It's TUMBLR.com. And we have other fun things on there. I believe I did a post about the sweaters of Cheers.
Yes, you did.
I think I have like a beer bread recipe on there too.
Yeah, there's a beer bread recipe. There's probably going to be more stuff by the time this episode goes up. There might be a vampire pie recipe.
I fucking hope so. And in case you just want to go back in time and print out like Oscar swag, you can totally print out 2015 Oscar printouts, like a ballot that you made, a bingo card. Maybe you'll use it again next year. I don't know, unless you like mementos. But now that we got the housekeeping out of the way, so in case you haven't read the description or heard our little intro, we decided to do the Munsters today. The Munsters today.
The Munsters today.
Sorry,
not
I was pre-gaming.
The Munsters. The Munsters.
As I said, this podcast involves alcohol, so I had like 2 glasses.
See, I'm only on my first.
Yeah, well, you were at the liquor store when I was like texting. I was like, "Are you home yet?"
Yeah, boyfriend likes to wander around the liquor store. I'm
That's
kind of
fine.
like, okay, what do we need? It's like this. I'm like, okay, what else? Do we need anything else? He's like, I don't know. And then he just like wanders off, and I'm like, come on, hurry up.
There is a recording to be done. Anyway, so the Munsters Today is a sequel series.
Yes.
All right, so
Is a sequel update to the original from the 60s.
the Munsters. Were you a fan of the original Munsters?
I remember watching it on like Nick at Night or something, but I don't have the clear memories of it like I do I Dream of Jeannie or Bewitched or anything like that. Like, I know the basics.
Okay, so
I know about Herman, I know about Lily, I know about Eddie and Grandpa and Marilyn, but I don't really remember any of the storylines.
now I'm like the exact opposite of you in this because I was a huge fucking Munsters fan. Like, huge fan. Like, I own the DVD box set of the original series. They made like 2 made-for-TV movies, like in the late 60s, early 70s, maybe the 80s. I don't remember exactly when, but I have them on DVD.
Yeah, there was one in the 80s.
They eventually became available on DVD. I gobbled those things up. And the one, like, small thing that I never ventured into was the Munsters Today. And I have been dying for years just to see the Munsters Today. Because I don't remember this. This was a syndicated series on the late 80s. Early 90s, maybe?
Yeah, it was late 80s, early 90s.
I believe it was from 88 to 1991 was the air
The run.
dates. And it was syndicated. This is definitely a syndicated show, right? So
Oh yeah, this is definitely not a network production.
So the strange thing is like, as wild of a hit the original Munsters was, and I don't know why I didn't just pick an original Munsters episode because it's just one of my favorite shows. But I had the capacity to do the remake, so it was like we have to do it. But the original Munsters show only lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It was it 66 to 68 or 64 to 66? I can't remember.
Something like that. I don't know.
But basically, Fred Gwynn, who played Herman Munster, was just a D-bag about the show. He hated putting on the makeup every week. He just hated... I mean, I'm sure it sucked. I'm sure it was awful.
Okay, you've never worn stage makeup, have you?
Well, I was in a production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I believe I was one of the dwarves.
Okay, how old were you?
Like 8.
Yeah, no, you probably weren't wearing, like, actual stage makeup. Actual stage makeup is thick and greasy and disgusting. What it does to your skin is just so gross because it clogs your pores. It's disgusting. It's no fun.
So, I was in 2nd grade, and I was a dwarf, and I think I had to wear a fake beard, like the ones the others wear in Lost. So it wasn't that bad. I don't think I had to wear, like, green makeup on my face. And you know what, though? Because it was the 60s and it was still that black and white era, the makeup effects looked really cool.
Yeah.
They looked so cool because it was, like, black and white, so, like, Herman Munster looked like Frankenstein's monster, and Lily Munster looked like one of Dracula's brides, I guess is what she's supposed to be.
Actually, Herman is Frankenstein's monster. He's supposed to be Frankenstein's monster.
Okay, but with just, like, they replaced the brain, and he's, like, an even dumber down version of it?
Yeah. Well, Frankenstein's monster wasn't really very intelligent.
No. Well,
then Lily is the daughter of Grandpa, Herman's wife, Eddie's mother, Marilyn's aunt, and Grandpa is supposed to be Count Dracula.
So, Grandpa actually is Dracula. I thought he was just like another vampire who just like stole his swag.
No, he is Count Dracula.
Okay, well, I mean, I know he's supposed to like represent Count Dracula, but is he actually Count Dracula?
There are, in the original, there were episodes where he was referred to as Dracula or Count.
Okay, I mean, I guess it's possible. I mean, I guess vampires can age. I don't know. Turn into elderly men who, like, just make lame potions.
I guess.
So Grandpa is the father of Lily?
Yes.
Or the grandfather of Lily? This is where I always get confused.
Lily's father.
Okay. And who is Lily's mom? Like another dead vampire?
Never mentioned. We don't know who she is.
She's like a vampire floozy that
I
existed
guess
in like the 1800s.
One of like 167 wives that Grandpa has had.
All right. And Lily is dead? Or she's undead? Or alive?
She is a vampire.
Okay. So she is a vampire. Okay. And we obviously know that Eddie is a werewolf.
Yes.
All right, so how, like, is he adopted?
Well, Lily's brother, one of Lily's brothers, is a werewolf as well.
All right, so, and which side of the family? Oh, this is confusing, so.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it all out, because I was trying to figure out, like, what kind of monsters they were all supposed to be, and I was just like, but how do you get a werewolf from a vampire and a creature? Like, how does that happen?
All right, so Herman died as, like, multiple human beings. Mm-hmm. And Baron von Frankenstein, or whatever his name was,
Dr. Victor
Frankenstein reanimated him, brought him back to life. And he was like multiple people. He was electric. So he has like a working reproductive system.
Apparently.
Okay. And Lily. Alright. So can vampires spawn children? Or do they just sire children? We're getting very deep.
Okay, so in Twilight, I hate to admit that I know this.
You know what? That's a good like springboard for the idea.
Okay, so Edward was a vampire when he married Bella, and they had like really scary fast sex, and he got her pregnant.
And a bed broke, right?
Yeah, the bed broke.
Okay.
There were feathers everywhere, and it inspired 50 Shades of Grey. So Edward was able to impregnate Bella, even though she was human and he was a vampire. And then she had this baby and like this accelerated pregnancy.
So it was like a mystical pregnancy.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe the same thing or a similar thing happened on the Buffy spin-off Angel.
My Angel knowledge is very limited.
Alright, so I believe Angel knocks up... Alright, so in the first season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there's a vampire named Dollar. She gets slayed. She is resuscitated by magic in the series Angel as a human. Then I believe Angel as a vampire knocks her up. So vampires have a reproductive system, apparently. But do Frankenstein monsters? That is the question. Because he's basically just like he got struck by lightning and he is like moving by circuits.
Okay, well, are you telling me you think that Dr. Frankenstein did not grab those parts? He left those parts off when he was rebuilding?
Well, I mean, you gotta get a lower body, so I mean, it's not like... Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a penis involved somewhere.
I mean...
He got Rudolph Valentino's penis.
It's there, so maybe it works. Apparently it works.
So there must have been like semen in the nutsack of the dead man that came to life. This is valid questions. You don't have to put your hand over your face.
I know. I'm just like, oh my god. Oh my gosh. I apparently
we're applying logic to the Munsters. And
apparently,
this is not where I wanted this episode to go, but this is where it's going. Because I want to know, how does a werewolf child come from a Frankenstein monster and a vampire lady?
I just don't know.
Did they have a normal human child and then the human child got bitten?
There's no way they had a normal human child.
No. And Eddie the Munster in this incarnation of the series, he's like a glam queen.
Oh, what?
A glam queen.
What is that?
He's basically like, he looks like he's transgendered. Like he's wearing makeup. It's just awful, awful makeup. So he looks like, basically Lady Gaga in werewolf form? I don't know. But he doesn't go full-blown werewolf, though.
No, he just looks like a little kid
who wears makeup.
See, I didn't think he looked like he was that made up.
I don't know, he was wearing a purple cloak. You didn't watch on the same level I did, so you look like...
I don't think I did.
Alright, so then you have Marilyn Munster,
yeah.
Who's like... She's like... In this incarnation of the series, she's like Britney Spears, or like Tiffany, the singer.
Yeah, she's very Tiffany Debbie Gibson.
So, like, how is she normal? Like, where does she come into play? Like, she's like a niece of Herman and Lily?
Yes, Lily has a sister who gave birth to Marilyn.
Well, I guess, like, Lily's a vampire, so she was human at one point in time. And she had a sister.
Mm-hmm.
Who, like, was a normal kid. And then some fucking vampire, like, bit Lily. Lily drank the blood and became a vampire.
Okay, so you think it's kind of like a Cullen family situation?
Yeah.
So where Grandpa is not genetically Lily's father.
This is, like, why I'm just so confused by the family tree of the Munsters. Like, I feel like when they tried to remake the show, like, 2 years ago with Mockingbird Lane, I really felt like, because they did a serious approach to it, they tried to, like, actually, like, take this approach, but we just never got beyond the first episode.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Because I am dying to know these answers. Like,
yes.
I hope we're not the only ones that are, like, applying this much logic to the Munsters. And not just the Munsters.
I am so close to just tweeting out from the podcast account these questions and seeing what kind of answers we get.
It's not even bad that we're, like, applying it to the original Munsters. We're applying it to the Munsters Today, which is just, like, the Bot magazine remake of it.
Yeah.
So, should we just forget everything and just, like, go into the episode?
We might as well, because we're just going to confuse ourselves.
Like, maybe someday, like, a professor in supernatural sciences will, like, email us and just explain it all, and then we'll, like,
science fiction literature.
Our minds will be blown, but tonight, though, we decided to do the very first episode of the 1988 to 1991 syndicated remake, The Munsters Today. This episode is called Vampire Pie. It's the very first episode that aired.
Yeah, it's the first episode. The pilot is unaired because they recast Marilyn.
And they recasted her with Hilary Van Dyke.
Yes.
Is she one of the famous Van Dykes?
Not that I could find. I was trying to find that. It didn't say anything about her being related to...
Well, she had her own Wikipedia page, and then her Wikipedia page was like one sentence long. It was like...
Yeah, I was like, this does not answer any questions.
Well, I was like, I have so many questions on this Hilary Van Dyke, and just nothing. Nothing exists. Because, like, when I was watching the opening credits and they actually like show her name, I was like, is she like a famous person? Like they made it seem like it was like a big deal that she was in it.
Yeah, they made it seem like she was just this famous person, and then there was like nothing, like at all.
Yeah. So like I don't know. I guess Van Dyke is a common last name in the 80s.
Maybe.
All right. So before we get into the episode, should we get into the unaired pilot?
Well, yeah, you talk about that.
All right, so it's part of the theme song. All right, so if you remember the original Munsters theme song, it was just instrumental, and it kind of had a swaggy 60s horror sound to it. And the Munsters own the Dragula, right? Was that them?
On the what?
The Dragula? The car? That was them, the Munsters. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
the hearse, yeah.
So there's the premise of the original Munster show, which they are just monsters living in Mockingbird Heights?
Yes, Mockingbird Heights.
Which, is it like a Los Angeles suburb, or is it like Midwest? I couldn't quite figure out where it was. Or could it just be like, is it like Springfield?
Yeah, it's probably like a Springfield, but I feel like had to be California. I don't know why. It's just the feeling I got.
So they are just these like hardcore monsters, and Grandpa's like, he's also Dracula, and he's also a scientist.
Yeah, he's also a mad scientist.
And he like
so he probably like maybe he is Dr. Victor Frankenstein, who became a vampire.
Changed his name.
Changed his name to Count Dracula.
And he builds machines, he makes potions, he does everything, basically. So he created, like, a sleeping machine.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you can go into the sleeping machine, he can, like, set the amount of time. And whoever goes into the sleeping machine, they won't age. They will just basically exist, but in, like, a sleep mode, I guess is what you want to call it. So
basically it's like freezing yourself.
Yeah. So they go in and they only intend to do like an experiment. They're gonna like sleep for like 30 minutes, but like something happens, some kind of like catastrophe, and the dial gets switched to forever. So now like the monsters are asleep for like 20 years?
Yeah, I think they said they were asleep for 20 years.
Like 22 years, basically. So then they're going to destroy the monster's house because it's, like, existed in this town all along. And it's, like, the only, like, house in town that has, like, a thunderstorm above it and wind at all times.
Yeah.
And they're like, we just fucking need to get rid of this. This fucking house is just, like, an eyesore. It is just awful. And so this guy goes down into the basement, and he accidentally, like, hits the lever, which wakes up the Munster family.
Yeah.
And so now they're in, like, 1988. But I guess the episode was really bad, so they scrapped the idea, and they just, like, throw it in the theme song.
Yeah, like, the episode, they recast Marilyn, and then they're just like, well, let's not reshoot it.
You're like,
so let's just use these clips we have and just start in the middle of everything.
Well, because it was probably expensive to like build everything and all that crazy shit and makeup effects. But
and it's a syndicated show. It's not a network show.
Yeah, it's like Charles in Charge quality. So, how does this episode begin? I'm trying to... we're in the living room?
Well, it starts with the theme song, so you get the theme song that explains it. And then Lily's in the foyer, and she's dusting the cobwebs, but she's not taking them away. She's trying to make them shine.
So, she's not like normally you would remove the cobweb because it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
But instead, she's like spraying them with glitz and glamour.
Yeah, she's just got the feather duster. She's trying to make them look nice, and Herman's like pushing her around on the ladder.
Yeah, so she's on like a wheeled ladder, and Herman's like wheeling around the house because she's not tall, but Herman's like 9 feet tall, maybe?
He's taller than her.
Yeah. So then Marilyn comes running into the room. She's like she's like a model chick at this point. So in the original Munster series, she was like quiet, reserved, really like early 60s, classy, like...
Yeah.
She has that like Betty Draper look where she has like the hair thrown back and she wears these like house dresses.
Mm-hmm.
But now she's like, she subscribes to Bop magazine. She takes quizzes. She wears like...
She probably had that quiz out of Young and Modern.
Yeah.
You're 17.
She wears that like yellow April O'Neil like jumpsuit jacket. And she comes in, she's like, oh my god, guys, like, I think I'm in love with Dustin Nelson. Do you guys know Dustin Nelson? Which I guess it goes back to the pilot because, like, we were supposed to know.
Yeah. There's this whole thing about how Dustin's parents came to dinner and they're all like, oh yeah, they were really nice. You know that this family was probably totally creeped out by the Munsters.
She's like, he's fucking hot. Like, he's so fucking hot, guys. You don't even know. Have you guys ever seen The Young and the Restless? He's like one of the guys on there. But like,
well, not yet.
But the teenage version. And Herman's like,
he has superstar good looks.
Herman's like, no, we just woke up from like a 22-year-old coma. I don't know what the fuck you are talking about, Marilyn.
It's like they just got up. They're still setting up the house, I guess.
Yeah, like it's been like days. It's only been days since they like awoken, and Marilyn just turned into this like crazy like.
Marilyn
Tiffany...
like slipped into that 80s girl real quick. She permed her hair. She's got the banana clip in.
She's like, I don't know about you guys,
boy crazy,
but I'm gonna make the fucking best out of this. I'm just gonna go for it. And Herman's like, all right, like, you know, feel free. Like, we don't even own a TV.
Yeah.
So Marilyn goes to school, and I guess she's in like a home ec class. So she's like, Dustin cooked my goose. and Grandpa's like, like, we need to like kill this guy. Like, I don't want
overprotective.
I don't want no mortal cooking my granddaughter's goose. Is it his granddaughter? I don't even think so.
Yeah, it's his granddaughter.
And she's like, no. It's like an actual goose. Like, we cooked a goose in home ec. First of all, who cooked...
Like, okay, first of all, who cooks a goose in home ec?
Yeah, I made cornbread in home ec.
I mean, I spent a lot of time in high school in my home ec department, and we never cooked a goose.
Like, did you make anything involving meat? Or, like, anything sophisticated like that?
Let's see. I took senior year, I took a class called Meals. So it was like you take cooking, you take your basic cooking class.
Did it have
like
Z at the end of it? Meals with a Z?
No, not Meals with a Z. But then you could take, at this high school, you could take a second cooking class, which was a little more involved. It wasn't like the basics. It was more involved. And we did a lasagna. I remember we had to do a lasagna because I still make lasagna to this day based off what I learned in that class.
That sounds intense.
And we did some chicken dishes. We did a few other dishes. So.
Yeah, but you never cooked a goose.
Yeah, we didn't cook a goose. We would not have had time. Even with the way our schedule was, where we had like 1 day a week, we had like a 2-hour class. It's still not enough time to cook a goose.
Have you ever had a goose?
I don't think I have.
I don't even know, like, I feel like you would cook a goose in like a Charles Dickens novel.
Yeah.
Like a Christmas goose.
Like, I don't think anybody's ever suggested, hey, let's get a goose for Christmas dinner.
Like Mrs. Havisham would have cooked a goose. Before she got jilted.
Who's cooking goose in 1988 in a home economics class?
I don't know.
I mean, my God, my basic home ec classes, it was like, here's how you scramble egg. Here's how you bake a cake.
Yeah,
and like half the people couldn't bake a cake.
I think. All right, so I was in home ec in 8th and 9th grade. In 8th grade, we made Rice Krispie treats. We made cornbread, and then I think we like boiled a can of green beans. I don't even know. Like, it was just basic shit. Like, it was like Rachel Ray 30-minute meals. Like, that's how like basicer than that. That's and Mockingbird Heights.
Like how to boil water.
Yeah, exactly. Like how to wash dishes. Do not put the
we
knife
spent so
in
much
the
time washing dishes.
Because everybody
I
fucked
spent
up.
a lot of time washing the dishes, actually, because I was actually the assistant for the department, so I ended up doing, like, extra dishes.
Like, I would have fucking killed other human beings to cook a goose. Like, that's how, like, classy a goose is.
So you only took home ec for 2 years?
Yeah, well, I could have taken it, like, beyond, but I wasn't weird.
See, I took it in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. We all had, like, a home ec section that we had to take each year.
Yeah, but you're a lady?
No, it was, like, everybody.
Okay, so, in my school...
But then I took it again. I took home ec class. I took home ec classes almost every year. My last semester of high school was pretty much go to an English class, go to a history class, spend the rest of the day in home economics.
Well, in my school system, home ec was mandatory in 8th grade. So you had to take it. Now, if you were like me and you were a slacker, and at the end of the year when you were supposed to like fill out like all the courses that you wanted to take next year, you just didn't do it like I did, then when it got down to the point where like the guidance department would select the classes for you, they ran out of classes to put me in, so they threw me into home ec in 9th grade. I was the only guy in my home ec class for like 3 months. Then all of a sudden, like, I kind of like felt like I was like important, because it was just like, I'd be sitting in my class, and my home ec teacher, she was a homely woman. I'm not gonna lie. You know, she was a homely woman. She was single. Like her name was Ms. It wasn't Mrs. It was Ms. You know, she desperately wanted a man. I always thought she might have been like a lesbian, but in the long run, it turned out she wasn't. But she always wanted a man. And she would like see me in the class, and she would always like call me out. She's like, "Well, you're the only guy in the class. Are you like you should be like the class stud?" And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go for it. Like I'm like. I was kind of like a nerdy kid in like 9th grade, so I'm like, but you know what, this is my time to shine, because like, it was a mixture of all the other girls of my grade, so I'm like, I'm fucking going for it. But then, in like November-ish, some other kid had to transfer into the school. He came from another town, and he was like a little bit muscular. He was a boxer, his family were like boxers, so he came in. He was fucking like, the class stud, and because there weren't like any other classes for him to take, they threw him in the home ec class, and he just fucking took over, and he became like my mortal enemy for the year. I can't remember his name. I wish I did, but he sucked at cooking, and like I learned how to like crack an egg, take out the yellow yolk, put it into separate things. Like I always learned these like stupid things. Like I would always like do the dishes. I'd be like, they'd be like, "Oh, like I need someone to wash the dishes for me." Like, I'll do it. And they're like,
"Yeah.
Oh, who's gonna iron these smocks we have to wear?" I'm like, "I'll do it." I was like the class hero.
The smocks.
Until this like stud came along, and they were like, "Who's gonna iron the smocks?" He's like, "I don't know, that faggot over there." And I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" I was like,
"Tell me he didn't call you that."
No, I was just doing it for dramatic effect.
Oh my god, Patrick, don't use that word.
All right, I'll bleep it out.
Better bleep it out.
So
I'll bleep it out on the YouTube.
Yeah. Anyway, so Marilyn is cooking geese in her home ec class. And
it must be like a fancy rich school. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Is Mockingbird Heights? I don't like. It seems like a town that has like a permanent cyclone over it.
Well, if you go by the family, what's his face? Justin's family, it sounds like it's kind of a snooty little community.
Yeah, kind of. And the mother she's an Epicurean.
Yes.
Which is like...
And there's a cooking contest coming up.
Which, in case you don't know what an Epicurean is, it's a fancy way of saying professional chef.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true? I don't even know. Okay.
I think. I don't know. Let's ask Google. Okay, Google. What is an Epicurean?
Epicurean, a disciple or student of the Greek philosopher Epicurus.
Did you hear that?
A Greek philosopher?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally not this episode of the Munsters. Munsters, right?
Yeah.
Monsters. Anyway, so Herman learns that Marilyn's boyfriend's mother is an Epicurean, and she's hosting a cooking contest in Mockingbird Heights. So he's like, fuck this. He's like, I want to be a top chef. He's like...
Yeah, they've learned that guys can cook, that it's totally okay. There's this whole thing where Lily's like, well, maybe you guys should do some of the cooking. You do most of the eating.
So, in the 60s, it was like Betty Draper-esque. Lily would do the cooking, and every other housewife out there, while the husband would just kind of be a philanderer or a monster. But now, like, Herman's hip with the modern day, because he reawoken.
They're trying to get hip with the modern day.
He awoke in here, and he's like, I'm fucking down for this. He's like, I'm down for anything. So he wants to basically become an Epicurean also. And so he goes up grocery shopping, right?
Yeah, he goes grocery shopping, and he comes home with the most bags I think I've ever seen someone come home with.
It's like 97 bags that he comes home with, and he just drop it on the ground, and the sound effects are just like breaking glass and like things that are breaking. So you're wondering what he has.
Like, I go grocery shopping once a month, maybe once every month and a half. We do not come home with that many bags.
I come home with... I went shopping tonight. Not even, like, earlier today. And I had, like, 5 bags. Tops.
Yeah, I think... We went to Walmart on Sunday. We had maybe 20 bags. But like I said, that's going to last us a month, maybe more.
And Herman was just shopping for his, like, cooking contest.
Yeah, he's... first he has to make something for the family to prove that he can cook.
So these are the ingredients he bought. He only bought like basically 2 things, but he bought them in bulk. He bought carrot tops,
not carrots, but the tops, and not the weird comedian.
Nope. If only.
If only.
And chicken feet, which the butcher was begging him to take.
There had to have been more. You don't get what he made from chicken feet and carrot tops.
Yeah, so
he probably just like went and found like all the grossest possible things you could find at the grocery store and tossed them together.
Yeah, so Grandpa like arrives at this point, and he is like, Herman, you need to give up on cooking. You are a creation. You are made of like 11 other people. We gave you the brain of the guy from Of Mice and Men. You have no smarts. You don't know how to do anything. There's no way you're cooking. There's no way you enter in a cooking contest. But he was insistent, basically. But at this point, before Herman even starts cooking, Marilyn comes running into the kitchen with her magazine, and she's like, Aunt Lily, we have to take this quiz. And the quiz is basically like, how are you ready for your Mr. Right?
Yeah.
So
which sounds about right for a quiz in a 17 magazine or a YM back in 1988.
It's one of those like cosmopolitan quizzes, and they probably ask you these like stupid questions, and This is my favorite my favorite quote of the episode, because Grandpa's like, quiz schmiz. All I need to do is just mix you up a love potion. It worked for Sean and Madonna.
Oh my god. No, it didn't, Grandpa. No, it didn't.
It was a timely reference at that moment in time, but like probably like when they recorded the episode, Sean Penn and Madonna were probably like stark, raving, mad in love. But I bet you by the time it aired, they were probably broken up.
Probably. Let me see.
I don't know what their time frame of togetherness was.
Madonna and Sean Penn were married from 1985 to 1989.
Okay, so this is like the end of their. Okay, so we're probably in the
end.
year.
Yeah.
We're in the years that like Madonna's like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah, totally.
She's like, how do I get out of this? And Warren Beatty was just on the horizon. So,
oh my god, I always forget about Madonna and Warren Beatty.
So, anyway, so Marilyn's now like worried about this quiz. Now, this is the first question of the quiz. Who is your Mr. Right?
Oh my gosh.
The lamest question of all. You want to know what the second question is?
Yes, tell me.
If he tries to kiss on the first date, is he Mr. Right or Mr. Fast?
Oh my gosh.
And Lily's like, well, I don't know how to answer that, but you will know. You will know when the first kiss is right. So now, like, Marilyn's like freaked out about this. She's fucking panicking.
Well, because you have to remember, Marilyn still has the 1960s thought process, even though it's 1988.
Yeah, she's 1960s thought process, but she got a perm and she wore an April O'Neil blazer, and she's like running around Mockingbird Heights, like, I want to be a whore, but I don't know how.
She's like, woo, women have rights, woo,
we can vote. Wait, we could have voted in the 60s anyway, but I didn't know how. Let's get divorced. Now, this is where we get our first introduction to Eddie Munster, who's hiding in a cabinet. So...
yeah, why was he hiding?
Because he's fucking weird. He's...
well, I guess little kids hide.
But he's hiding in, like, the China drawer. So, Lily and Marilyn are like, they're like laying out the plates, and they're like, well, your uncle's gonna be cooking tonight, so you have to be nice to him. And then, like, the drawer opens, and he's like, oh my god, Dad's cooking? Fuck. And he's like the most annoying child.
Doesn't everybody have that, like, reaction when their dad's cooking? If they're not used to their dad cooking, you don't know what you're gonna get.
I think my dad was a better cook than my mom. I don't know how things were in your household.
Well, my mom did the majority of the cooking, but my dad does, like, the big things.
Like turkey?
Like, even now, yeah, my dad does most of the cooking for, like, Thanksgiving for the turkey and stuff. Like, my stepmom does some stuff, but it's like, here, what am I doing? Like, for years, my stepmom pawned it all off on the kids.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you make this, and you make that, and you make this, and you make that. And then you're like, oh, wait, what just happened? I'm making what?
Well, I always thought my father was, like, the better cook of the family.
Mm-hmm.
But he worked, so my mother just, like, tried to cook, and it never came out right. But my father was always, like, the better cook. And, like, whenever the big events, like Thanksgiving or Christmas, he was like, bing! He was right there, and he was, like, carving the turkey, carving the Christmas ham.
Well, like, my dad would do the turkey, but my mom would do everything else when I was a kid. Like,
peel the potatoes, boil them, mash them, add the milk.
But if it wasn't a holiday and my dad was cooking, it was kind of scary because he likes to experiment in the kitchen. And when I was a child, I was a really picky eater. I'm still a picky eater, even though I'm a grown-ass adult. But back then, I was really bad. And I would, like, throw fits when my dad was cooking because it would never be anything that I liked. Like, he would make boiled cabbage.
Oh. So, if you were Herman Munster...
He'd throw weird stuff in it, so...
So, if you were Herman Munster, you would be hiding in the china drawer, like, going, ah!
Yeah, I would have been like Eddie Munster.
I
probably did.
Like, he's like...
Try to hide a time or two.
Like, this wasn't even, like, the time. It's like, just go to the store and buy Cheez-Its, please. Please, just buy some Cheez-Its. But, so Grandpa is, like, he kind of knows that, like, Herman's, like, not a good cook. And he's, like, trying to save the day. And he's, like... Actually, no, he's not even trying to save the day. He's trying to sneak away from dinner. He's like...
Yeah, Grandpa's like, oh, I gotta go run an errand. I'll see you guys later. And Lily's like, nope, sit down.
So, now dinner is served. And it's this, like, weird, like, blue tentacle... male. I couldn't even describe it. It just looks like...
Okay, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of, like, Laffy Taffy, like
Melted?
Airhead Taffy, cut into strips. Like, cut into thinner strips and stretched out a little bit. Especially because Lily, like, ate it and then her mouth got stuck together.
See, I thought it was those things you buy in, like, the supermarket gumball machines that were, like, those blue, like, slinky arm things that you, like, slapped against the wall.
Yeah, the sticky things.
But, like, a thicker version of it. And I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And Herman slaps it on Lily's tape, and he's like, you gotta eat it first. And she's like, oh, my God.
Oh,
like,
don't forget the juice.
Don't forget the juice. And he's, like, so lame about it. And she's like, oh, my God. She's like, I have done everything for you at this point in my life. She's like, I don't even want to say it.
Oh my God, I'm afraid of what you could say.
She's like, I took your, like, re-engineered man-made penis inside my vagina.
You said it.
And she's like,
you said it.
You can't make me eat this supermarket gumball machine goo. And he guilted her into it, and she's like, fine, I'll just gobble it up. And she eats it, and her mouth gets stuck. Her fucking mouth gets stuck.
Her mouth is like, it's like it was super glued shut. It was ridiculous. Grandpa had to get something and, like, pry it apart. She's
trying to say that it's good, but she can't even open her mouth, so Herman doesn't even understand. And Herman's like, she'd probably like it much more if her mouth was unstuck, and she could tell me how great it was. Meanwhile, he has this, like, Grandpa brings up this crazy, like, doohickey. It's the thing that, like, degreases the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz. It's like, he's, like, dripping in her mouth. And she gasps, like a gasp bear. She's like, oh my God, I need to get out of this marriage. She's like, ugh. Just get me out of this.
Like, what have I gotten myself into? Why are we letting him cook?
Yeah, and he's like, do you think it's good enough? Herman Munster's like, do you think it's good enough for the cooking contest? And
hell no.
Lily and Grandpa.
Hell no.
Lily's like, oh my God, no. Like, she's like, I never thought I would breathe again out of my mouth. But Grandpa's like, you know what? Grandma Medusa. And is Grandma Medusa his wife? Or his actual grandma?
No, this was Lily's great-grandmother.
Okay. So it's Grandpa's mother?
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
So he's like, do you guys know my mom Medusa who turned men into stone? Well, she makes a mean Transylvania surprise. I mean a mean one. It's like the best one ever. It looks like Nickelodeon Gack.
Does.
And it's a recipe. It's a recipe so simple that even an idiot, like someone who is made out of 11 body parts, can make it. And then, like, Grandpa's like, oh, but hold on. I can't remember why we called it a surprise.
There's something I can't remember. I'll figure it out. It can't be important.
Fuck it. Who cares? It's only Herman and his stupid contest with these simpletons in this town. These mere mortals. So now, we're at the table again, and, like, Herman is, like, he's starting to present this, but first, Marilyn busts in the room. She's like, oh my god, guys, I'm going on my first date with Dustin Nelson.
Oh my god, I asked him out! I asked him to ask me out!
So, she asked him out, which is, like, shocking for the time frame.
Yeah, it was shocking.
And he said yes. And then Herman's like, oh, well, you guys aren't going to be home. Like, you're going to be here all alone because I'm going to be at the cooking contest. So, like, she's like, oh my god. She's like, the things I can do now.
I don't think she was thinking too much about what she could do.
Well, she was just looking for her first kiss.
Yeah.
Dustin Nelson was, like, looking for, like, second base. Or more.
Or more.
So now, Grandpa stays home. He's like, I ain't going to the contest. He's like, something's bothering me about this. He's like, I need to stay home.
Well, you forgot they tried the Transylvania surprise.
All right, so
and it looked like a pie. With, like, green whipped cream or something.
But it's like Nickelodeon Gak, right? It's like, you can't do this on television slime.
Yeah, it was, like, super green.
Really gross. So, they all eat it, right? And they like it?
They eat it, and they like it, and they've got their bat milk that floats when you pour it in the cup.
Yeah, so there's cups floating on this table.
That was the weirdest thing. I was like, what the heck? Why are they floating?
You know what? I didn't even pick up that it was bat milk that made it float. I was like, why the fuck are those cups floating? Because, like, they were, like, grabbing them before they, like, floated away.
Yeah, they're like, oh. There's one part where you can see Lily, like, realizing she needs to keep holding the cup because it's supposed to fly away if she doesn't.
Oh. Have we commented on the makeup yet?
Not really. Only on Eddie's, and I think you went a little too far.
So, the makeup job on Lily/Lee Merriweather is just so awful. It's just like, it looks like they put, like, clown makeup on her, and then, like, painted her, like, cheeks, like, rosy red.
You know what I feel like they did? I feel as though they went and took the same makeup designs they used in the 60s, even, like, the same colors, and just used the same ones back in, like, in 1988, even though they don't translate the same.
Yeah, because things that look great in black and white.
Black and white.
Because if you ever like the original Addams Family set was like, the set was pink, but in black and white, it was like gothic looking.
Yeah.
And you just, like, they had a hard time, like, translating that to color. So, like, the Munsters TV show, like, the green Herman Munster makeup is just, like, awful looking.
Well, it was, like, blue.
It looked like, it was like the Halloween aisle at, like, the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Just so weird. So everyone at the Munsters table likes Herman's cooking?
Yes. They like the Transylvania surprise.
And they're like, we have to fucking enter this. Like, we have to do it. So now we cut to the cooking contest. And
yeah, they're at the cooking contest.
So now we meet Mrs. Nelson for the first time. And she...
Yes, we meet Dee Dee.
Dee Dee Nelson, who looks like Marcy Darcy from Married with Children. And she freezes the second she sees the monsters. And she's like, oh my god, this family again. Like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell? And
it's that classic, oh my god, how do I get rid of these people who have invaded my life?
And Herman Munster is wearing, like, like a stereotypical chef's hat and like that smock, like that like home ec smock, and he's down to cook, basically.
He was so excited. He like told Marilyn, "Don't tell Mrs. Nelson I'm entering. I don't want any special treatment."
And then he shows up with like he has this like man purse of like supplies that he brought. And he like just dumps them over the counter, and you just see like all this like pots and pans like crash all over the place. Eggs splat, eggs crack, and then he like takes his knife to like the uncracked eggs. He tries to like cut them up, and then he has like a butcher's knife, and he's like scooping up the egg yolks, and he's like throwing them into this like haphazardly throwing them into this like blender. And then he, like, pulls out this, like, this miscellaneous green mixture. He, like, pours it in. And then there's this, like, one weird lady who's just, like, she's, like, 97 years old. And she's, like, watching, like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, like, this other contestant is, like, the two other contestants were, like, what the hell is going on?
And Herman's, like, looking for a plug.
Are we on candid camera? Is that what this is? Like, what is going on?
Herman can't find a plug, so he just sticks it into his neck, and the blender starts.
And everybody is just kind of like, what in the world?
But
who are these people? What is going on?
Little did they know he was making a Transylvania surprise.
Surprise!
Anyway, so now we cut back to the Munster house, and Dustin is trying to cop a feel on Marilyn.
Yeah, he's like, oh, why won't you kiss me?
And she's like,
golly shucks, jeez.
She's like, I'm just waiting for the right moment, because I took this cosmopolitan quiz that told me that if I was too easy, that you were going to hate me 6 weeks from now. And he's like, no, Marilyn. I will always love you. And she's like, okay. And they started kissing, and then, like, an alarm clock went off, but it was, like, not an alarm clock, it was, like, a raven that came out of...
Yeah, it was like a raven cuckoo clock kind of thing. Like, this raven pops out of the wall, and then the stairs lift up, and there's fire coming out.
Well, that's the dragon, their pet dragon.
Yeah, the dragon. And then Grandpa comes out, and he's all like...
Oh my god, I just remembered what's wrong with the recipe. Grandpa's freaking out, and he's like, we have to get down to the cooking contest. And Marin's like, oh my god, I was just gonna go to third base. Like, what do you mean we have to go to the cooking contest? And he's like, to the Dragula. So they hop in the Dragula. And they show up like right when Mrs. Nelson eats the Transylvania surprise.
Yeah.
So she's like talking about like how great she's like, well, it looks kind of weird, but it smells nice. The consistency is kind of lovely, I guess. And she's like, and she takes like a small taste, and she's like, ooh, wow, this is like great. This is fucking fantastic. And it's like, as soon as she like takes a bigger bite, Grandpa walks in, and he's like, she didn't take a bite, did she? And like everyone's like, yeah, she just did. So he like tries to block. He like pulls up his cape, and he's like, Marilyn, whatever you wanted to do, just do it now. You have a free pass.
When the person happened, and so Marilyn's like, oh, time to distract Dustin. Oh, plants a big old kiss on him, and they're like just there making out.
She's like,
meanwhile, his mother turns into a duck.
So, Mrs. Nelson turns into a duck or a goose? Is it actually a duck?
A duck.
Well, actually,
she kept quacking.
She said, she's like, she kind of acts like weird, right?
Yeah.
Well,
she starts to like move around like bird.
Well, she likes it at first. Oh, hold on, I fucked up my notes. Doesn't she have something where she says something about a quack? Oh, that's later on, okay.
Yeah, that's later on.
Alright, so let's start. So, Marilyn kisses Dustin.
Yeah.
Poof! Poof!
Poof! Poof, poof, poof!
And Mrs. Nelson turns into a duck. Mrs. Nelson is now a duck. And Dustin Nelson has a boner, and he doesn't realize what just happened.
he and Marilyn out. They're not even like paying attention to anything that's going on while Grandpa's like, we got to get her home and give her some bat milk because it's the antidote.
But did they not acknowledge anyone else that was at the cooking contest that saw it?
No, they don't. They're just they don't at all. It's so ridiculous.
There's a whole like plethora of people that just witness this because like they keep showing the audience. So there's like at least 12 people because like that's the number of the contestants, I guess is what we call them. So like there's 12 other people that are like in this cooking contest that watched a woman turn into a fucking duck.
Yeah.
And then the Munsters decide to kidnap the duck and take it back to Mockingbird Lane.
Yes, they do.
So now we're back at Mockingbird Lane. And Grandpa's like, oh my god, I should have told you guys earlier, but he's like, but bat milk is the antidote. Like, if you drink bat milk first and then have the Transylvania surprise, you're fine. But if you have cow milk, you're gonna fucking turn into this ugly duckling right here that's laying on Herman Munster's lap. And it's like, wait, hold on. Do bats milk?
Apparently they do. I don't know.
Are they mammals?
I think they are.
So, Grandpa's like feeding Mrs. Nelson like the antidote. And there's like, as soon as Marilyn and Dustin like run in the door, there's like another poof. And the duck remorphs back into Mrs. Nelson. And she like doesn't remember how she got there. She's like, oh my god, I'm sitting on the lap of a fucking monster in this house covered in cobwebs. What is going on? She tries to escape. And they're like, do you remember anything? And she's like, I don't remember anything except for like the sudden failing to fly south. And they're like, alright, so she doesn't know that like she turned into a duck. We brought her back here and we like probably like made her to lay eggs. I don't even know what ducks do. Like, what do ducks do?
Ducks lay eggs and they fly south for the winter. And they fly together. Ducks fly together. Ducks fly together.
Quack. 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 So, now Mrs. Nelson has like an anxiety attack because she doesn't remember anything. She's in a house with fucking monsters.
That she doesn't like.
And
her son walks in and she's just like, I gotta get out of here. She keeps quacking. Quack!
Yeah, she keeps quacking. And she's like, Dustin, put your motor away, please. I'm just gonna get out of this. And then Herman's like, did I win the contest? And she's like, yes, your thing was the best ever. Because she didn't want to be murdered by fucking monsters.
She's terrified. She wants to get the hell away from these crazy people.
So they escape, and now Herman and Lily like vacate their room, and now it's just Marilyn and Dustin, and they're like, hey, you know what? We're alone now. Like, finally, like, we had like a day of mayhem. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but let's kiss. And they kiss.
Let's make out.
Meanwhile, the house catches on fire again because of Spot, and the Raven comes out, but it's all ignored.
Well, when you have a guy with soap opera good looks kissing you, you're going to ignore it.
That's right. But did you see the closing tag of the episode?
Where Lily had the magazine. She's all like, or no, Herman had the magazine. He's like, wait, no. Lily had the magazine and Herman had to describe his dream date, which involved getting dolled up, going to a funeral, and then renting Friday the 13th from the video store. And Lily's all like, but we've already seen Friday the 13th. And he's like, I know, it's for Eddie. It's so we can go upstairs and have a date night.
Then they run upstairs like Alan Peck Bunny, like the one time they find like a connection.
Yeah.
And it's like
Eddie parents that are frisky. It's like, oh, run upstairs.
Meanwhile, the camera pans to the corner, the cabinet opens up, and you see Eddie the Munster, and he's like, oh, That really doesn't happen.
Oh, I missed that part.
No, it didn't happen, but it should have happened.
Oh, I was like, did I miss that part?
And that is basically the Munsters Today. Now, what the fuck did you think about that?
This was, like, weird. This is, like, bad. It was not good weird. This is not something I'm gonna go and watch at, like, 1 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep.
Well, because, I mean, we've done 18 episodes of the podcast, and, like, there were a few episodes where, like, we watched Mr. Ed, and you're like, I just want to watch them all. Or even, like, The Cosby Show, you're like, I love The Cosby Show. But, like, this was in my pantheon of, like, television shows to watch, because I love the original Monster show. I had even bought the movies, like, the remake movies.
Yeah.
But I had never seen Munsters Today, and I was, like, dying to see Munsters Today. And the first time I ever saw it was a few weeks ago, when I watched it for the podcast, and I was like, this is awful, but it's perfect at the same time. And I will not watch another episode. I just want to leave it at that level. Like, that should just be...
Yeah, I just kind of want to leave it where it is. Like, I think when I first watched it, I sent you a message, and I was like, this is so 80s.
This is beyond 80s.
Like, this was so... Like, it just, the production values were not very good.
No, it had those lame, like, 80s angles, and, like, dumb jokes, and, like, a Madonna reference.
Yeah, like, there was, like, the sets just looked like they could fall over at any second.
Yeah.
It was just not... Like, I know the houses, like, the sets are supposed to look kind of, like...
spooky.
Worn and old, but this looked, like, dangerous for the cast. I was like, oh my god, how did this last 3 seasons?
You were worried about Lee Merriweather?
Yes.
Is Lee Merriweather still alive as of this recording?
I believe so, yes. She is, of course, best well known as playing Catwoman.
On the 1966 classic Batman, which we will someday do.
Yes, and she also later played Ruth Martin on All My Children.
Ooh, ooh. So that was the Munsters Today in a boring nutshell?
Yeah, kind of. It was just... I don't think the writing was very good.
Yeah, even, like, when they had Mrs. Nelson was just, like, a poor actress.
Yeah.
Marilyn was, like, totally miscast. Eddie was...
I wonder what the original Marilyn for this was like.
She probably hated it. Because I believe in the pantheon of things, the show is, like, shunned upon.
Probably.
But we have to make up for this to our fans. To our 7 fans.
Yeah, so we have to do something good next.
Alright, so we've always done an old show. I think we should do something new. Like something that's modern. Something that is now. What is your take on that?
Well, let's see. What's really popular as of right now?
Alright. Are you a fan of Tina Fey?
I would actually say I'm not a fan of Tina Fey.
What? I am firing you from this podcast.
Okay, so I kind of feel like I'm a little over the whole Tina Fey and Amy Poehler are like the greatest thing ever thing.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know.
Well, I was going to recommend an episode of 30 Rock, but if we can't do 30 Rock, I guess our only other option is Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, now on Netflix.
Yes!
So we are going to do Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which I will fucking call it right now is the best show of 2015. That's the year we're in right now, right?
Okay, hold on. Can you really? What about Empire?
Fuck Empire. This is the best show of 2015.
Okay.
I like Cookie. I like the Cookie, whatever her name is, but Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is gonna go down in history. We'll forget
Yes.
about Empire in like 2 seasons. It's gonna become a Nashville, and it's just gonna be boring and just derivative of its original nature. But Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt will still be fucking liquid gold. So we're gonna do... Which episode are we gonna do?
I think we're going to do the pilot.
Could we? Or should we do... I feel like we should do them all. Like, it does... The
thing is, okay, you can... Okay, so the first time I put it on just to watch the pilot and just to see what I thought. Because the trailer, I was like, this is kind of weird, but I kind of want to see, like, what's going on. Like, I kind of want to understand and see if I like it instead of just, like, flat out hate it just to flat out hate it.
You fucking loved it.
I could not turn it off. Like, I put it on, I was just gonna, like, watch an episode or two and, like, see how I felt. And the next thing I knew, it was 4:30 in the morning.
Same.
Then I went to watch it again. I almost watched the entire thing at once again. I have, like, 2 episodes left that I have watched on a rewatch. It's been out for, like, what, a week and a half?
Like, I feel like we should cancel this podcast and just do a podcast on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, like, episode by episode, because it is just, like, I was a diehard 30 Rock fan. I watched every episode as they happened live, and I watched them over and over and over again. Like, I have seen them hundreds of times, and I know the quotes. And Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is just, like, an extension of 30 Rock, but, like, on a whole new level that I just don't get.
Okay, so I have a friend, Joe, who I know listens to the podcast sometimes. And I
Shout
told
out
him
to Joe!
I told him today he should watch it. Because I just figured he'd already seen at least part of it. And he had it, and he actually says to me, Kimmy is basically Liz Lemon if she were in a cult for half her life.
Totally Liz Lemon. Oh.
Yeah, I never got into 30 Rock. I don't know why I didn't watch 30 Rock, because I like Tina Fey.
It's on Netflix. Fucking start it over and just keep going. You know what?
Because I like Tina Fey, but there's just a while where NBC is just not pulling me in with anything they were doing.
You know what, though?
And so I just kind of stopped watching NBC.
The first, like, 6 or 7 episodes of 30 Rock aren't that great, but if you can get through them, then just keep going. Because that show is, like, an inside peek at my life. Because, like, there are days, like, I will have, like, a thought, and then I would, like, turn on 30 Rock, and they would, like, repeat that joke, and I was like, holy shit, like, I just thought that the other day. Like, it was uncanny. And that's exactly what Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt reminded me of, because it was just the same... It's, like, the same universe, basically.
Well, it's the same creators, isn't it?
Yeah, but, like, it feels like the same universe, which is, like, why I love the show and why... So we're going to do the pilot? Because I'll do any episode. Like, I'll do them all. Like,
we will probably say we're doing the pilot, but let's be real. We're probably going to talk about the entire thing.
And I am down for it. So join us next week when we do the modern classic, which has been renewed for a 2nd season. I can't fucking wait, because it's not going to be for, like, a year from now.
I know, I'm like, can I have it now, please? Can I just have it?
The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And, as always, until next time...
Bye.